And we're rolling. How about that?
Yes, yes.
Oh, dude, that was a bit of a mission.
You got there.
I
Congrats.
eventually got there. Yeah, I totally got there. But by gosh, man, it's been an effort. I'm still sweating a little bit, actually.
You made it. You made it.
Well, man, not as much as you. I think this is this is the first time. No, I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
It's the first time I've had someone rock up on a pushy man. That's mad.
Right. That's right.
Mad.
And you know, Western Sydney Penrith definitely reminds me of the fact by the things that that get yelled out of the vehicles, and this is the location. Like when I was going to UWS, it's Western Sydney Uni now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not WSU. It's UWS. No, sorry. UWS sounds like a radio station. Like, you know, you can just hear the tune. UWS.
That was 2WS.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, WSU, UWS. Yeah.
But this is when I went to uni and I was studying sustainable design. That's when I started commuting as a cyclist, and I've never owned a car. And just bikes are the way I get around. And so even though I live up in Meanjin, Brisbane now, I still pop my folding bike on the train or on the plane this time. And yeah, a couple of amusing things, just people just yelling at me like, get on the footpath. And then around here, just getting to your place. You do have a very lovely dual direction cycleway, but I don't.
There are good cycle ways around.
But I don't think I've ever noticed this before. They usually say there's like a cycling arrow, cycling icon, and then pedestrian icon, and the direction of travel. Yeah.
Yeah.
About 400 meters away from your place, they are the wrong direction.
Oh wow!
I've never ever seen.
What?
That.
It's on the wrong side of the road,
it's
sort of stuff.
on the wrong side of the cycleway. It's
because you'd be left to go. Yeah, you'd be left with with the cycle on your right.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's enhancing the fact that how rare commuting cycling is here. The arrow's on the wrong way, and no one probably noticed.
I don't know if there's community cycling here. I don't know if you'd call it that. I've watched some heroic maneuvers on push bikes around here.
Right.
Everything from the BMX to the mountain bike. I've watched, because I live on a hill.
Yeah.
Right, a pretty steep hill in that part. And I've watched people in massive groups. I would say from 6+, like between 6 and 8 people.
Yeah.
Continuously doing a wheelie down this hill as they go by. Down.
Wheelie down the hill.
Wheelie down the hill.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Whoa, man.
Right.
No helmets. There's no thought for safety at all. And I felt a bit afraid to look them in the eye, to be frank. They were a bit rough.
I wonder if there's a cross section between the people doing wheelies down the hill and the 4 boys I saw playing basketball to Biggie Smalls, and also just like rooting for me up the hill. They're like, pedal that hill, mate, pedal. And then they start talking about go the blue. They said say up the blues, up the blue.
Oh, dude, I remember when because I was chatting with you. I'm like, dude, I got to interview you, man. You're so interesting, right? And I realized I'm going, what? Because I was a little bit drunk at the time, and I was like, I've got to book this time with Dylan, and I was like, fuck, how am I going to do it? I'm like, Wednesday. I usually do them on Wednesdays as my backup, not knowing that it's a State of Origin tonight.
Oh, is it?
It's a State of Origin. It's on in on in half an hour.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I've got to pause upstairs, so I'm going to watch it after this.
Okay, I see.
So I'm not going to check any social medias because it's the only football I watch with my wife.
Okay,
Misty, big shout out. It's really great watching her watch football now because now she knows the rules, which is hilarious to me because she's not a football fan whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I'll be watching that later. But yeah, I booked this for Origin. How sacrilegious. Please abuse me in the comments.
My only connection to Origin at the moment is that I'm working with ABC Radio up in Brisbane.
Okay.
And they have me come in. I'm still I've still got my training wheels on for this particular element, but like you pop into the stadium with grandstand, and there's the commentators box, and there's the 2 commentators there with their headsets, the main guy, the one they throw to every so often, and then you're just sort of riding the levels, and it's just fascinating, like just seeing how that is made. And I am booked for the next Origin that's up there next week, so it's going to be fun being in the midst of it.
Well, people don't consider the sound at a football game. They don't think about it. They think it's all visually driven. Which of course it is. You've got to see the play of the ball.
Yeah.
But they actually have microphones all around the field.
That's right.
And they mix that.
That's right.
To get the audience reactions.
And I think I remember this thing of that my dad used to do, and maybe that's where I pick up some of my sort of being picky about sound, was we used to have sports on growing up on mute, and we tune into the ABC coverage because it was like better coverage, better commentary, and so it's interesting thinking about that level of like, you know, massaging that audience.
Oh man, I'm blowing up on the Pagey train. Oh, dude, I can't take this right now.
I thought that was a special sound effect that just pops in.
Oh, it's my chiropractor. Hey, Michael, how you doing? You've just rung me on the Pagey train. I know you got a problem. Yeah, it's actually a fan. He watches it, so
right.
I hope yeah, man. I'm sorry that I bailed on you today. I was it was complicated. I'll talk to you later.
You're getting all the medical practitioners today.
Yeah, I am. I was at the dentist today. That was pretty bad. I think I got 8 needles in the face today. It's gonna hurt come winter, you know. But yeah, look, the football, man. I love watching any sport. I can watch, you know, Irish curling. I can watch curling itself.
Right.
Darts. Air hockey.
Yeah.
I'll watch anything, man. I'm terrible. But I don't have a lot of time to watch sports, unfortunately. I'm a very busy person.
I hear you. I guess I'm rocking a bit of sportswear now, and it's a bit dubious to wear sportswear out in public because there's certain associations with certain
tribalism,
tribalism, or just like, I don't know, like you get up to certain things out on the street in sportswear, certain associations going with that stuff. But this one, I've just been leaning into. I'm quite a nostalgic person, and I think I've been leaning into a bit of nostalgia because basketball was my main sport as a kid, and my dad was also a basketball player. And not far from here, actually, is the what was known as the Cambridge Park Basketball Stadium. I don't know if its name has changed, but
I think the name has changed.
Yeah, but that was where I had my first job as a referee, and used to play basketball there. And I often describe it as like a cadetship or an internship and getting yelled at by white men. Which is like a preparation for life.
Oh, that's what happened to me in the military. I just got yelled at a lot at the beginning of it. I just get yelled at a lot. But no, I think my sport was definitely like when it comes to basketball. That is the worst sport that I can play. I'm pretty good at sports. But basketball is like I look down when I dribble. Like I'm an easy victim in basketball. Total easy victim. I can shoot hoops. But I am not very good at strategy and very good at like setting up for a win or defending someone that is like attacking us. I'm not good at any of that in basketball. I'm terrible at it.
Are there some sports that you are inclined or you feel more comfortable with? Or?
Yeah, totally. Definitely baseball, softball.
Okay.
When I was growing up, a lot of people played cricket. I can play cricket, but I just found baseball more exciting, more fast. Cricket's a bit slow. And you know, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of strategy that goes into cricket, but I was more of a baseball fan. I used to play first baseman. I got pretty up there when I was in high school. I played a few state level games. You know, didn't win anything because we were the worst team in the league. But you know, we were still there. You know, we still made it. We were the only team that didn't have a uniform. Put it that way.
Oh, okay.
You know, we were all like ragtag. You know. But that I suppose for me, looking back at the time, it was embarrassing. But I look back and I go, man, how lucky were we? You know, to do that, even in that capacity. Sure, it'd be nice to have the knickerbockers all matching, but you know, we still got that exposure, and I even got a hit. I think I got one decent hit in that league. Right. Other leagues we played in, we always won the championship. So it's strange. It's humbling in a way playing sport because you can get to different levels if you get good at it. Like I remember my first open game. I was 13 years old. Definitely hadn't hit puberty yet. I signed up for a team that was open because I was late to sign up at school sport, and I signed up to softball, and I was the youngest person there. Everyone else had facial hair. I did not have any hair, and I got my absolute ass handed to me, man. It was quite demoralising.
Right.
But after 3 years of doing that and playing different leagues, playing different teams, man, we won that grand final on the open team. I went from losing horribly to winning the championship 3 years in a row. Right. And then getting selected for representative teams out of that space. And then you go up to those representative teams where you think, I'm just hot shit, man. People fucking love me. And you get to those spaces, you get humbled pretty quickly, man. Everyone is good.
Yeah.
Everyone is good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not the best person in the room.
And I think my main little taste or reference for that was getting into the swimming bronze squad. But I think just the level of training and just that just sort of repetition and just like being in the water, and particularly maybe, I don't know, training on a shorter length pool, so you're doing more laps. It just sort of sucked it out of it for me, and just
no, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you want to excel in upper echelon leagues in any sport, it's a lot of work. Talent's involved. Don't get me wrong, talent's involved, but sometimes effort is trumped by talent, man. Some people are just really dedicated, but it's when you get to those elite levels, man, that's where you need to be talented and hard work.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think you might bring what physical capabilities you have to your body. Like, so, you know, I'm a bit of a tall guy, so of course there's that thing with basketball. But definitely, you just got to keep picking yourself up and practicing. And
you got to be willing to fail at things, man, to learn them.
100%.
You got to be willing to fail at them. It's important. And I think some people worry about that a lot. I guess my advice to anyone is try everything. Try absolutely everything, man. Like if you go to another country, sample the language, sample the cuisine. Go off the tourist strip and actually look and travel. Don't be a tourist. Actually go and travel, sample things. Get into things. I gave some advice to people the other day, and I was saying to them, if you're musically minded, go join a band or go be a DJ or something. It will teach you a lot as a young person. Because then, when you run a band, you're not just a performer. You also you're gonna have a bit of business acumen. You also need to become technically proficient at things. That's poster design. You need to become a lawyer. You need to understand the law and why you can operate. You become a marketer. You become a video. Then you're a social media marketer. You're a videographer. You become a lot of things. You get to sample a lot of what's going on, and so I recommend to people get into artistic things, even if you're planning to do, if you're planning to do a business degree, or if you're planning to be, an engineer. I still say learn an instrument, man. Learn something that's artistic. And most engineers or scientists or lawyers would say that there's always an element of art to what they do, and if you have an understanding of the arts, it sort of gives you problem-solving skills that others don't have. You seem to be, you have a more broad vision of things, and you're more employable, really. When I do job interviews with people, when I'm a manager doing interviews, I look for people that I go, well, what's your interest? They go, I play in a band. You've already got me interest. I go, well, you can put up a lot of shit then, and you're willing to put yourself out there. And they go, I also used to work at Macca's. I go, oh, this is good. This is great. And also currently going to university. You're like, oh, great. You're ticking all these boxes for me as a person that's can I get something out of this person that's going to add to this business or to this organization. I think sports is another one of those things. It teaches you teamwork. It says you show up on time. It says that you're dedicated to a team and you're willing to put some elbow grease into something. You're willing to work hard, because sports are hard. They're mentally and physically enduring.
And the other thing with being in a band is managing and developing relationships, because it can be its own marriage or relationship.
It is a marriage.
It's another thing that you've got to manage. And I can recall it's been a while since I've been in a group as such, but I can just remember some big painful times around
lots of sensitivities.
Definitely
lots of sensitivities, because you've got creativity issues.
Then
you'd have marketing issues. I think the worst thing that someone ever said to me in a band is why do you keep treating this like a business? It's not a business. I go, it is a business, bro. That's the problem. If you thought like I thought about it being a business, maybe we would get different gigs. And you're the one putting this down. You should be putting this up. And just because you don't get a gig doesn't mean that you're silly. Just because you get a gig doesn't mean you're awesome. You got to be in the middle there.
It's a long game.
It is a long game. It's piece by piece. I think one of my best years, though, with doing music, I did I think it was 25 shows in a year,
right?
Which is pretty intense for a garage band, playing most venues. I can't think of a venue that we didn't play. That's a harder thing to come up with, is a venue we didn't play. And that's pretty exhausting. But to go through all of that and to get that momentum is an awesome feeling, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you start to because then you start getting recognition. You start getting accomplishments, and those accomplishments they pay off.
And on a surface level, that might sound like, oh, it's only one gig every 2 weeks. What are you talking about? But there's a lot of groundwork that goes into putting on every one of those, and
totally
preparing the sets and managing the relationship and talking to the venue, getting a tech specs and.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the tech specs, you got to learn how to do, a stage diagram.
Yeah, yeah.
How's your stage set up? What's your backline? How's this technically going to be achieved and synthesized with the venue?
Yeah, yeah.
How's the marketing arrangement going to go with the venue? Are you getting a good cut? Probably not. I figured out, though, with the music industry, it is the worst industry. It is the worst. They are terrible at paying artists.
Right.
Like, they are the worst and most notorious for not paying an artist. The venue gets paid, the label gets paid, the CD, back in the day when we did CDs, they get paid. The T-shirt guy gets paid. The graphic designer gets paid. The artist, the person making the content that's attracting all this business, is the last to get paid. Because they go, well, you're on stage having fun. That's your payment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it should be more.
One would hope when people have that business mindset and they're doing it themselves that they can start to control some of those things if they centralize all of that.
Yeah, get some agency. Get agency in the situation is the key.
Yeah.
But it was valuable for me, though. I took those lessons from that, those humbling lessons from the music industry, and brought them across to the film industry in Western Sydney.
Yeah.
And making sure that the artist gets paid and promoted is paramount for me. And it's really paying off, because then it gives you more control. And it actually then gives you the ability to allow people in the region to take control of the voice of their space. And there's a lot of power in that. A lot of opportunities to be authentic, to tell stories that aren't normally told.
Yeah.
Stuff that's outside of the generic zeitgeist narrative.
Yeah.
You can really go above and beyond. And I'm always surprised when I look at content that comes out of Western Sydney. I'm always surprised. I'm like, shit, man, that was intense. Some of it, I've had movies that come out of Western Sydney that have made me laugh and cry within 4 minutes.
Right.
Where it's hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. But what's the scene like up in Brisbane? Like, what are you doing up in there? You're on a podcast, yeah?
Yeah, I do. I have dived back into running a podcast again. Like, I had a bit of a failed initial start 4 years ago. Failed in the sense, like, recorded half a dozen, only ever put out one.
Yeah.
And then it took the reflection of some mentors sort of saying, hey, you're running a video production company and you produce podcasts for other people. Where's your one? Why don't you produce it?
Yeah, where's your content?
It was just like this kind of like, oh yeah, of course I've got to do one. And a big barrier initially, like 4 years ago, was trying to do a multicam thing and then try to do it with the laptop computing power at the time that we could afford. That was, it was
that's a bit challenging.
Run out of a backpack, and but now I think there's a few more hundred or a few more thousand hours in there of working on client stuff and client projects, and kind of understand a bit more about how that stuff works, and it just started on a 2-week cycle. Initially, just like didn't do the video. I was like afraid of video again, but just listening to the feedback and listening to
it's super hard doing video.
Yeah, and just like listening to just like the current sphere of podcasts where just it's video is ubiquitous with them, and I just embraced it and found my own sort of simple way to do it. A way that doesn't involve camera switching and just keeps it simple. And,
it's hard, but I must say, I'll say this for the video aspect of it. The video draws you audience.
Yes, absolutely.
But when you gain an audience, they turn into a listening audience.
Yes.
So you start them off as visual watchers.
Yep.
They become listeners. That's the part that I've noticed with podcasting in Australia.
Yep.
Is if you have the video element, they go, ooh, this is interesting. I'll watch this. And then you can take those small clips and whack them into your reels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's harder, but the benefit, if you get the pipeline worked out, is totally worth it.
Yeah.
Like I composed a clip that will get 30 hits or 3,000 hits. You never know.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of them like maybe even 30,000 hits, man. You get sometimes you get some really big hitters.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get, but if you do long form content, you've got a sea of stuff that you can just take out of it and then give to your artists that you interview and allow them go, hey man, don't forget to go and grab some of my content out and put it on your channel. Don't forget to tag me, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and there's a lot in that. And then once you get a long time listener, they turn in. That's what they turn into as a listener. Yeah. No, I can always recommend that to people, but it is hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is Pagey Train Mark 6. It used to take me 4 hours to make an hour.
Right.
Now I can make an hour in an hour and 15.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I can make 2 hours in an hour and 15.
Cool,
Doesn't matter. It's just one episode in 15 minutes of editing.
Right, right. Yeah. I might call mine like Mark 2.5 or 3. And the video aspect is becoming quite core to it. And I have been noticing exactly some of those things.
What's the name of your podcast?
Talking about Creator Tales.
Creator Tales.
Yeah.
What's Creator Tales about?
Creator Tales is focuses on the premise that underrepresented excellence is hidden in plain sight.
Totally.
And
I'm loving this.
And we talk with artists that are up that alley about how they create or access platforms for their work.
Yeah, because it is like a lot. We are so surrounded by digital media that we take it for granted. It's the same with image. Yeah, you know, we take images for granted, like posters, images on thumbnails on YouTube clips.
We're surrounded in beautiful artwork.
Image, look at this, just stickers, pop art,
right?
You know, we are literally surrounded by it. You get on a train, man, and just look out the window, you'll see graphics everywhere.
Yeah.
You'll watch. There will be 100 people on that train, buried in their phone, watching content.
Right.
Like we are surrounded by it and take it for granted.
Yeah.
And like I even find in the translations talking to clients, like I go, we can do a 3-camera shoot. It's going to cost X amount. They go, but I could just get me cousin to do it on an iPhone. You'd be like, well, go and get your cousin to do it on an iPhone.
Yeah. Why are we talking then? Yeah.
It's not going to be the same as what I could give you.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's why the price is the price, man. We're not taking people for a ride. Just saying, man, shit. Think about the business you're going to get out of this content. If we do it right, you're going to, if you do it properly, you're going to be able to measure that and aggregate from it. If I build you a clip for the next 3 years, you can pick the bones off that thing forever.
Yeah, repurpose. Yeah,
you can totally repurpose it. Definitely. You're going to get your initial launch of it. You might even get a relaunch out of it later, and then you can pick the bones for the next 3 years. You don't need to buy anything if you really are hard up for anything, and for a good long while.
Yeah.
But you will buy something because then you'll realize the power of what you've delivered and how much it increased your sales or increased your reach.
Yeah.
You do it properly.
Yeah, I get super happy and proud when I see clients using work years later. Or in one particular instance, a printing company that I want to say 6-7 years later still has one of these works on loop on a screen that was designed to be in a silent environment, so it still works in the waiting room. So
it's timeless.
I
love those timeless pieces, man. Look, I think that for me is voiceovers, because I do voiceover work for TV and radio sometimes.
Right.
And you hear your voice, you're like, oh, that's the only time. Like, I won't watch my podcast back.
Yeah.
But when I do a voiceover as a character, I'll listen to that. Because the reason I want to listen to that is because then that's the. Like, I don't need to critique myself on podcasting. I just have a conversation and interview someone, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to critique that. I just learn by doing it.
Yeah.
But when you're doing voiceovers, you're like, shit, okay, so I sort of could have dived into that sound a bit better and brought this up. I could have EQ'd it here when I delivered it to the client, because that would have encouraged them to use it this way. Because then sometimes what annoys me when I build content for someone, sometimes they don't use it to its full potential.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah,
because you've given them a suite of content and you go, you picked that one, man. Okay, okay. That could have been way better. What you should have done was hired me to edit it for you as well. That annoys me when they don't use it to its full potential, especially in an artistic space. You know, corporate space is not so much, but artistic space is like, you could have lit more people on fire, man.
It's such a fine line between like being a helpful guide and not wanting to handhold and not having to babysit things as well, right? Like,
yeah, totally. But they become the custodian of your content.
That's right. That, you know what? That reminds me of something that's been on my mind recently because I've been working on the Behind Bluey podcast with ABC, and there's some real touching moments in there where the creator Joe Brum is talking about an episode Stickbird where he I didn't really know of this, but builds a sort of a bird on the beach out of sticks. It's a thing, right?
Okay.
And then in the episode, I think it was based, and a lot of it's quite touching because I think it's like a lot of it's directly based on his like life experience with his own kids.
Yeah.
And so in the show, the Banjo and one of the kids have built this stick bird, and then some other kids come and like crush it all down, and he's got to kind of console it. And the line in the show is like, when you build something beautiful, it's no longer yours. And when you build something beautiful and put it out into the world, it's no longer yours.
It doesn't belong to you anymore.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember. I need to ask Misty. She tells me this quote all the time, but it's called "Death of the Author." Yeah. So when you make a song, put it out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore because people are going to interpret that
100%.
The way based on their life experiences.
Yeah.
They're not going to care about how you wrote that as a broken-hearted person or as someone that won something or whatever context it is that you wrote that over.
Yeah.
When you paint something, you might I painted this because I don't know why. I just was a bit frustrated at the time.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw some paint at a canvas, and people go, look at the fury, and they're trying to design a universal structure there, and they may have nothing to do with what the artist's intention was to begin with. So you have death of the author.
Yeah.
It's got to say, I don't know if it's fully the same in podcasting. Like when I started podcasting, I thought, it's just gonna be a conversation, right? It's just me and you talking in a room. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
It's actually there's an art to it, man.
100%.
Yeah. There's a ball that we pass around. We're locked in.
Yeah.
There's no interruptions.
Yeah.
I can't overtalk. You can't overtalk me. I can't overtalk you. There's this space that we are met in a very equilibrium space.
Yeah.
And you can try to have a focus on what content you want to talk about. You might have a backdrop of what that would be. Today we're pretty much talking about podcasting and what that means to us.
Yeah.
But hey, it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
It can turn into, I don't know, maybe taxi cab confessions. I don't know. I've had all kinds of crazy shit happen on the show.
Right.
But that's what it is. It's an art form.
Yeah.
It's a riffing art form. It's where we riff, right? And I find it's very similar to being with a musician.
Yeah. I was feeling that. Yeah.
Totally is, because when you're in a space talking with a musician, they play an instrument, you play an instrument, you sing, they drum, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You got to find a way that you have rhythm, and it's either going to be a swinging thing or it's going to be a time thing, right?
Yeah.
Either which way, it's riffing.
Yeah.
Very much that.
And again, that echoes to your point before of being a musician, being in a band. Becoming kind of like a microcosm of life skill, because as you learn that musicality of exchanging without words, finding those spaces where you talk, I talk, it goes, we pass the ball back and forth, that teaches that sort of spirit of improvisation and being able to riff off of each other. That's just like you can just go and you can just go and do life, mate. Like, don't worry.
Well, I found with podcasting, there's two approaches with podcasting, right? You can either do the inquisitive inquirer, like I'm curious about what you got to say. Tell me more about this thing.
Yeah.
Right? I need to know more about this thing, and then anecdotally add to it. Yeah, actually, I resonate with that. This thing happened to me too.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I definitely like the latter, and that's my approach.
Yeah, well, that's my approach for sure. But sometimes it's the I've listened to other podcasts. It's more about I call it the black cat,
which is like questions one direction.
No, but I've got this black cat, and you go, no, I got a blacker cat. No, I've got a blacker cat.
Oh, this one-upmanship.
Yeah.
Oh, boring.
Yeah. So when I listen to one-upmanship ones, I'm like, oh man, you could have been a bit more inquisitive there.
Yeah.
Started trying to tell me how black this cat is, man. You could just like do this thing, and like it would be cool because the person you've got is really cool.
Yeah.
Just let them be cool.
Yeah. Give them some space. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very much very much the other way. Like just curious, man. But Brisbane, man. So is it because there's a bit of a film scene up that way? Because you're doing like video production up there and running media up there.
There definitely is, and it's a funny one because in a way it's kind of eclipsed by the sort of Hollywood-esque Gold Coast side of things that just to the south.
Yeah, it's always been there, right?
Yeah, which has always been there, and in a sense is like too big and distanced and irrelevant to the indie scene. But I guess when you, particularly in the narrative sphere, and I do work with some folks that are on narrative shoots a bit, and they sort of cross over into the doco world, which is more my space. But yeah, in a sense, there's some overlaps, and there's definitely like access to gear and equipment. Sometimes if you can't find the right thing in Brisbane, Meanjin town, then you can go down the Gold Coast and link in with like Movie World and those suppliers down there. But at the indie DIY doco level, it kind of it just that's off going down in the background out there, and it's kind of we're just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
There, I've been really enthused by the diverse film communities, and I suppose I'm leaning towards cultural diversity in that sense.
Yeah, okay.
I was really lucky to sort of like land quite quickly into a certain community, and it was Invasion Day 2 years ago that I met this whole crew of people, including this amazing poet, Hood of the Goddess, who then I started making a doco about.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've said a few things that have fired some neurons off in my brain there. Because I think what you're talking about there is a little bit of a little brother syndrome. Because you've got Gold Coast, which is the big brother.
Right.
And Brisbane's the little brother in the context of film.
Yeah.
And the thing that I sort of resonate with that is in Western Sydney, it's the little brother, and the North Shore is the big brother that's always gotten the gigs.
Yeah.
And where there's little brother over here that we get less for fees. But the thing is that there's more going on, and the other thing that really ties into that is that cultural diversity idea. We get and don't get me wrong, it's great to get praise for our organisation for doing diversity. But we don't. It's part of our mantra, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's not a part of our focus.
Yeah.
It's not our general main focus. Our main focus is the content itself.
Yeah.
And if you live here, and you are authentic in how you approach filmmakers, you're going to find diversity in an organic sense. Like the tree already exists, is my point. Like there seems to be this movement, like we've got to create this tree, we've got to nourish this tree to grow. No, what we need to do is just recognise the tree that's already in the yard. It's already here. It's already there. Just look at it and go, that's the thing. And that's where I come from on diversity.
Yeah.
It's about the natural inclusivity that's already there.
Yeah.
And it's about pivoting and just going, what's that over there? It's that easy.
Yeah.
You don't need to go, we need to be culturally minded, we need to do this, we need to do that. Like, no. What you need to do is just set people free and allow them to be storytellers. And whatever stories that resonate with the general populace are generally going to be good stories that people want to watch.
Yeah.
And that's not a difficult bow to draw. So like, it doesn't matter. Like, one of them was like, we had a Southeast Asian lady make this really cool film, and someone was like, it's really great that you're promoting this black artist. And I'm like, no, it's really good that we're promoting an artist. It just so happens she's black, man. It's not.
Yeah.
That's round the wrong way. She's a storyteller, man. Like, who cares where she comes from? It has nothing to do with anything. The movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it was, man. It really was a good movie. It was a movie that really touched into the zeitgeist of how we think as artists. And it really tied into what we do as artists. And then, she did one the following year that was really sinister about a grave digger that was hired to dig graves for a hitman,
Yeah.
It was super cool, man. Like, it had nothing to do with anything else other than it being cool, and I find that unusual. But don't get me wrong, like, and guys at Made in the West, when you come up and say that, it's great. Like, I have different people come up and go, it's really great that you allow everyone to be on screen. I'm like, it's not that I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But I'd like to change the wording in that.
Yeah.
It's great that we have this opportunity to show our art, is what I'd rather say.
Right.
And especially, you don't know who you talk to sometimes. People's cultural identity is fucking complex in this country.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
super complex.
Yeah.
Like if you really dig down, even most white fellas in Australia aren't actually white fellas,
Right.
man.
Right.
Like when
yeah.
you dig into it.
Yeah.
But there's just that they're identified this way because of tribalism, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same when you dig into like black and brown folk, right?
Yep.
They will also have Caucasian and Anglo
Absolutely.
connections.
I have white heritage that no one really cares about as well.
That's it.
And you shared with me the other night that you found out some things about your heritage.
Yeah,
as
no
well,
no one cares about that.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're in these boxes.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Just like, well, as a storyteller, the box doesn't fucking matter anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you're chosen to be a storyteller. Like, do you think they look at bankers and go, "Well, it's really great that it's an ethnically diverse banking system there"? Like, no one cares.
Yeah.
It's just, can you put meat on the table and can you tell a story? But I suppose where it does tie in is cultural representation.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you're going, man, I'm going to tell this story this way because I need to empower this segment of society because of X factor here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense to
Yeah.
me.
Definitely.
That's the content again.
Yeah.
That comes down to the content speaking for itself. Doesn't mean you
mm.
can't just make this one type of movie. You can
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a storyteller, you make multiple types of movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it was representation that you mentioned just then, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think representation and also visibility is important.
Totally.
I enjoyed my trip out here so much today because I also involved a bit of a dash up the Blue Mountains, and I got a little bit of Wentworth Falls, and
Gorgeous! I love it up there.
That had me thinking of an Australian ABC series that was set in the Blue Mountains, and it was based around a mental health facility that was up there, and the name of the show is unfortunately escaping me at the moment.
I think I know this show actually.
Yeah.
See if I can find it out for you.
Yeah,
It
had some blue butterflies as part of the
It'd be beyond blue then, for
part
sure.
of the
Surely it's beyond
part
blue.
of the artwork, but it was, and I do have to caveat this with saying that I was away for 5 years, but in my direct experience, it was the first time that I'd seen someone that looks like me in a protagonist or main role in an ABC show, and it just got me thinking that. So I think the visibility of it is quite important as well, because
Was it Wakefield?
It was Wakefield. That's the one.
It was Wakefield. All right,
Good
yeah,
on
that was
Google.
very good.
Yeah.
Wakefield was pretty damn good, man.
Yeah. Nick Hill, and I think Nick Hill is, and there was a couple of moments in the show where you could pick it, but I think he's actually a British South Asian actor, which is interesting for me because I always look at their South Asian communities as being much stronger than ours. So it reminds me of a podcasting storytelling workshop that I was watching through ABC. Someone giving a guest lecture, and that they were talking. He had quite a simple and effective bit of advice on it. And I think he was speaking from a white presenting man perspective as well, but the piece was, he was saying, like, everyone wants to know about like how to develop diverse audiences and that kind of, like, how do we increase the diversity of our audience? And he said, well, you just need to start with the person who's behind the microphone, and then out from there, that will help.
Well, I call it, there's a way I put that for Made in the West, and that's for heroes. We need heroes, right? You need to champion people. So we're big people for, like, not big people, like we're big proponents for championing storytellers.
Yes.
And then you champion those storytellers, and they go, all right. So, and I must say, the first bit of content that we got from people with different coloured backgrounds was always white people on screen. That was just a fact that was happening. And I started, like, and it wasn't just me, it was other people talking. I go, man, you should be making movies the way you want, man. Like, why are we going to this, like, because, like, if you rewind the clock a bit further even, it's not just about having white people on screen. It's about white people having an American accent on screen. So it wasn't even Australian in that sense either. It's fully Americanized at that point. And then, like, one thing really opened up for me. I made one of my first movies was I had a and an Asian drug dealer, and he was like, "Say, yeah." And I said, "Be like Tyler Durden, you know, like the leather jacket, the crazy glasses, always jumping up and down, energetic."
Right.
And he goes, "Oh, do you want me to do like sort of this Chinese accent?" I said, "Nah, man. No, I want you to. I want you to actually lean into being an Aussie ocker. Actually, He's like, "No one ever asked me to do that." And he'd been in like a lot of stuff, on the scene, he'd always been like a henchman, like, kidnapping Sam Neill or something like that. He got to work with Brian Brown, this sort of thing. He'd been a little bit on the scene.
Right.
He goes, but I always get hired as the, a stereotypical Asian dude. I'm like, well, I don't want a stereotypical Asian dude. What I want is a stereotypical drug dealer. That's true. That's what I want. And this film is set in Western Sydney. I want Australian thick accents, actually. I want to lean into the accent. Not superimpose accent. But there's other films that I work with. There's a lot of actors that push, especially about 5 years ago, they'd push and say, "Oh man, can I do this in an American accent?" You go, "I know you want this for your show reel. Yeah. We got these cameras rolling, and it's worth a little bit of money, and that we're on a shoestring budget. And we're trying, can't pay the actors fully in this gig because we're trying to make our movie.
Right.
And you're using that as leverage so that you can get your show reel. I get it. But I fucking hate doing that.
Yeah.
I hate doing that. Unless it's a story about Americans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's a different deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why would we be doing that? Unless it's someone paying us to do it. Like, I don't see why we would do that.
Right. Right.
So why don't we make films that are, typical of the region? And that includes colour. That includes sexuality. That includes, and to the other extremes for the protagonists. That includes bad guys too, by the way. Yeah. That includes racists. Yeah. That includes thieves. That includes people that have violent tendencies.
People have very, very different realities to what you might know as your reality might be very different to someone else. So how can you say that, like, oh, don't make this violence? Like, hang on, if you grew up with that, then that's part of your story.
It's parcel of the story, right?
Yeah.
And certainly, like where I grew up, you really had to watch your back, man. And you couldn't just. It was actually safer to walk around at night time because you could be seen during the day. Like night time, you could hide.
Right.
Well, it's hard to find you at night.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible way to live.
And where was that?
That's in Western Sydney, man.
Whereabouts?
In Campbelltown.
Okay.
In Campbelltown. Scrambletown, as they call it.
Yeah.
These days. I think I heard another name for it the other day.
Yeah.
But look, I will say this without saying, like, that's a bad place to live.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like that. There are bad pockets everywhere.
Yeah.
One thing I will say for Campbelltown, though, is that it has an excellent cross-section of everyone that shops at the same place.
Yeah.
They all go to MacArthur Square.
Yeah. And
you'll have people that rock up in a new limited edition Beamer.
Right.
But you'll also have people that arrive there on the bus. And they'll all shop at the same place, man. So that's one of the strongest things that I've ever seen is in places like that. The social economic diversity, the racial diversity, the freedom to be who you are is very well accepted there.
Interesting. Yeah, because like something that's often not talked about in this country is like how classist we can be, and then all the different classes like operate in their own little sphere. Like when you talk about the North Shore filming scene, like I have no idea, no concept of that. I didn't go to Artarmon until I heard that the good film supply stores are there, so I like ventured out there, and then
no transport to get there though. Yeah, so hard to get to.
That's right. Yeah,
because that's it.
It has all the tollways and this.
Well, it's a little bit closed off for anyone who wants a job there. If you want to get a job in Artarmon, you got to pretty much move there.
Yeah.
You got to move to you got to move to what is it? Was it called Forest Fields up there? Green Forest? I can't remember what they're called. But all of those suburbs up there, there's no train lines to it.
Yeah.
You have to. The only way to work there is to move there.
Yeah.
We're talking about you, Channel 9. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about you, mate. You and your goddamn big ass aerials in the air there. No, but look. With that said, though, some of the worst people I've ever worked with are out that way, but some of the best people I've ever worked with are out that way as well.
Yeah.
So you can have that negative feed loop bias approach to it. I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. I'm just saying that there's an old hat model that's operating out there, and it's clasping at its last breath. And with its last breath, I just don't want to see it scarring us so that it affects our future. I'd rather us go into the future and simply claim what is rightfully ours, and that is us to be in our region being storytellers.
Yeah.
Surely that's a right of ours to do.
Mm.
Why should we have outsiders be making content? We live locally here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and as a big big shout out to her friend Bina. You know, she put it to me very simple. Like, if you go and make a movie in Sydney, it's going to cost you a fortune.
Yeah.
If you come out to Western Sydney, within 20 minutes, you could be at a picket fence, a rail yard, CBD location,
Yeah.
house location,
Yeah.
and the parking is free and there's no traffic.
Mm.
Like, that's the appeal
Yeah.
of making movies out here.
Yeah.
So,
And there's like industrial scale out there. Like, I look at the surrounding areas around where I grew up. We've got international airport is being built, a giant motorway interchange, a whole logistics hub.
Yeah.
Yeah, the metro is getting
Have you seen the plan? Like, because I'm one of those ones that goes to I call it the tribal drum. There's other things I call it. I won't say it on this show because I want to try and get funding from some of these people. There's other things I'll tell you off air what I say. But I won't say it because it's a bit rude. But the tribal drum. You go there, you know the meetings I'm talking about, right? It's the council meetings, and again, we have funding available for everyone.
Right.
Come along to this meeting, and you'll learn how to apply for this funding.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I do.
So you go along, and then you'd go to a few of those, and it's always the same people that are there. And you go, "G'day, how you going?" And they go, "Are you still about? Still kicking, mate?"
Yeah.
Especially these days after COVID, you survived COVID.
Right.
And I get frustrated because it seems to be a drum beat of what they don't actually take any course to action. They don't actually do anything. They just sort of talk about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But as a consortium, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of fear.
Right.
There's that, there's that famine mentality. If I do something and stick my head out,
Yeah.
someone will cut it off.
Yeah.
And I'll lose my business.
Yeah. Which is classic Australian tall poppy.
Tall poppy syndrome
Yeah.
straight up, right? And I think, no, what we need to do is be championing people.
Yes.
I'm the other way.
Yes.
I'm like, let's
Yes.
champion it. Let's champion our winners.
Yeah, without American accents. You don't need to go to the States to like big up yourself
That's
like
it.
that. You can do it right
You're
here.
an actor. They know you can do an American accent. You don't need to show them that you can do an American accent.
Yeah, yeah.
Be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And you are awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Own it.
You know, own it. Lean into it. It's the same with people in Western Sydney, man. Like, I know guys that used to change their hairstyle, change their accent, change their postcode,
Yeah.
lie on a resume where they came from and went to school to get the job. I'm like,
Yes.
fuck that, man.
Yeah.
We can't win if you keep doing that. We need to actually take a position. We need to, like, and this is what happens. You start knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And you might be lucky if a door slammed in your face.
Yeah.
Because that means they opened it a little bit. You know? But generally, they don't answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a door slammed in your face. What a privilege, is my point. But what you want to do is build your own house.
Yeah.
And then make it attractive.
Yeah.
And make people knock on your door. And do the opposite. Open it. Do the opposite of what they do. Open the door.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, it comes down to that. Now we're not in a famine mentality. We're in a feast mentality.
Yes, yes.
We don't have to backstab each other for work. What we can do is actually share clients. I'm a little bit busy on this job, man. Do you want this gig? Because I'm not available.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, help each other out.
There's enough to go around, yeah.
There's enough to go round.
Yeah, yeah.
You talk about this airport, talk about this infrastructure that's been built. That I've been to these meetings and I found their plan.
Right.
And their plan is quite clear.
Yeah.
They want the city area. They want the Parramatta area, which is blowing up like bananas.
Parramatta is unrecognisable.
Unrecognisable.
My dad's career job was there, and so he used to go into work and go into that place, and it they've got the light rail coming in.
It's a little city of its own.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Brisbane.
I remember a stat. What was it? Like within a 20 to 30 year sphere, they were predicting that the centre of Sydney would be Parramatta.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it geographically it will be. And what do you think's going to happen out this way?
Yes.
It's going to be the next Parramatta, right?
Yeah.
So they call that City West.
Okay.
So you've got the airport going in. You can already see the infrastructure starting up.
Yeah.
They are building this so fast. They don't even know what's going there.
I could not believe that there's a metro coming out of St. Mary's. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's just insanity, right?
That is the suburb next to where I grew up. Like, what is going on?
All of the network in between, right? Like, we've even made documentaries for organisations for suburbs that haven't been built yet.
Wow.
That's how fast it's been built.
Wow.
Like, even the media teams are building things.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we get hired for, right?
Wow, right.
We're building stuff to promote stuff. that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, one of our superpowers as filmmakers, right? We can dream things into existence.
Exactly.
We can paint these pictures.
Create visions, create dreams, create ambition.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it's about. Like, they know, like, the government, what the government is terrified of, and I can tell you, because I've talked to these guys, I know what they're terrified of. What they're terrified of is the building this city and no one populates it. That's what they're terrified of. They're not terrified of building it. They're not terrified of spending money on it.
They're terrified of the stigma of Western Sydney.
That's right. Wow. They're terrified that no one will move there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are crazy, man. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, yeah.
If you build us the infrastructure, we'll move into it. If you build us, if businesses start showing up, we will shoot their content. There's no doubt about it. And like, for me, I just see it as it's literally the Wild West, man. I see it like this is gold rush that's coming.
Right.
And all we've got to do is claim it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're already here. And we've got the artistic capabilities, we've got the technical proficiency, we've got the people, and all we need is that capital injection.
Yeah.
And that capital injection will then bring confidence. Once we have confidence, you now have a film industry. I have dreams of that hillside there saying Cranebrook on the side of it. Turn it into totally Hollywood. That would be mad. Build a studio down there.
Yeah.
Get people to get lots, man.
Yeah.
Start making features, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've got the space, right? And we could probably shoot the next Avatar at Penrith Lakes, right? Like,
there is space everywhere out here.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. It's why they're building the airport, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know,
like 20, 30 years in the making.
Up to now.
Creek, that old.
Yeah, man. Look, you wait in 10 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
It'll be unrecognisable.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it has been built faster than they can figure out how to populate it. Like they've got a plan, and that plan is based on a gamble of the stigma of Western Sydney. So that's why I say to people like myself, like, we're running media business out of here.
Yeah.
We're the guys that we're in control of narratives.
Yeah.
What we should be doing is, and if we don't take control of those reins, outsiders will come in and do it for us. And can we trust them with our narrative? And if you look at the history of Australia, no is the answer to that question. It's a big N-O. No.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we don't trust them we don't trust an outsider with that.
Yeah.
If there was, look, don't get me wrong, the outsider would be welcome if the local wasn't capable, but the local is capable of doing it. So then it's an argument over who gets the money.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the real argument.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting for us to get that.
Yeah.
And I will not rest until we win. Or not even win. We've already won. It's just got to be claimed.
Right. That's very timely to hear that. I can be a very slow and pretty bad reader, but I've been slowly working my way through Kendra Hall's Stories That Stick, and there's a part of the latter part of her book is talking about using storytelling within training. And within using it within training of your organization. And there was some comparison study of you need to do A plus B in a first aid situation, otherwise C will happen.
It's inevitable.
That sort of thing. But then there was another scenario of like, oh, John had a very serious injury because this, and this happened. So we need to make sure that we do this and this, and like the outcomes for that second group was so much stronger than this sort of like theoretical A plus B plus C kind of group. And it was talking about the strength of storytelling, and one of the take home lines was like, you better start using storytelling in your organization before someone else does and tells their own story about it.
That's right. You may as well arrest control.
Yeah.
You may as well arrest control of your narrative because it's your space. You live there.
Yeah.
If you want someone else doing that, that's gonna pose problems because they're going to do things totally based on economical decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you do that, when you base things totally on economics, someone's gonna lose. Like if you live in the region, that means you have other consideration. That other consideration is, goes from environmental to social economic to a psychology. Is this appropriate for everyone? Is everyone going to be okay with that? And as well, don't get me wrong, we don't want to make content that is so generic that no one can pick it up.
Yeah.
You still do targeted content to demographic audiences, no doubt.
Yeah.
But that having that dexterity is just part and parcel of the freedom of being a storyteller. You're not telling one story, you're telling multiple stories.
Yeah.
And those multiple stories need to be told because then you become voiceless. You lose your agency.
Yeah.
You don't have agency. You got to stand up and be heard.
Yeah.
The only way to be heard in this day and age, I hate to tell it to your kids, we are definitely in the age of glass, man. All of the transmission of this stuff is being transmitted on fiber optics, and those fiber optics are connected to like a mycelium network across the skin of the earth.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they are digitally connected with things that are floating in space. Right, there is a network.
Sea cables and
that's
stuff.
it. There's submarine cables that are doing this, man.
Yeah.
And there's all of these gateways of information. Literally, our voices are traveling at the speed of light around the planet to people listening to this, right?
Yeah.
Big shout out to you guys in California and Virginia, by the way.
Yeah.
Especially you guys in Virginia. I'm a little bit sus. You guys are working with the CIA. Get back to me. Put it in the comments. But our voices are traveling at the speed of light around the globe on this network. And, that's the age of glass. We had the age of steel, the age of bronze.
Right.
Which I believe that, and silicon chips themselves, silicon is glass.
Yeah.
We're definitely in this elementary age of glass.
Right.
And this elementary age of understanding consciousness. Once we start to figure out consciousness and duplicating it, and that's where we're at the cusp of now, right? We're at that chat GTP cusp of allowing things to be written for us and thinking for us and doing for us.
Yeah.
We're at the start of that. We're at the calculator version of that. Imagine in 40 years' time what that calculator can do. Like, it was back in high school. Remember they told us that we couldn't have... you got to do this maths test.
Yeah.
Because you won't have a calculator.
Yeah, they're banned.
Yeah, they're banned. You can't use them because you'll never have a calculator in your pocket.
Yeah.
What a lie! What a lie! Fuck, I've got a calculator on my watch that's connected to my bigger calculator. It can literally see through the fucking earth looking at stars.
Yeah. If you take a moment to step back, think about the stars. Like, we got supercomputers that bypass the computing technology that the NASA supercomputer took people to space and Mars.
But by magnitudes.
Yeah.
Magnitudes. Like, they were running a 286 essentially. Like, if you think back to the 80s, like you had the 186 and the 286 and the 386, 486 and the Pentium. And everyone was like, ooh, the Pentium. But then, then you had the Mac, iMac, we've got these branches of chips that have been made. It's all based on Intel, right?
Yeah.
Intel being the company making chips. But if you go back to the 286, that used to fit in a standard PC computer from 1989 to 1991.
Yeah.
That used to take up a room.
Yeah.
And that room was at NASA that was helping navigate things to land on the moon with people inside those vehicles. And it wasn't even... it was done in an analog way as well. It wasn't done digitally.
Yeah.
This is all on valves. This is like valves that are, transcoding fucking data, which is just insane when you really think about it. Like, fuck, it's vacuum space is doing calculations of 1 and 0, all across the network going, computation to figure out, our trajectory to fly this thing is this angle. So put this into your computer, and our bigger computer says that your computer's right, and you be good. If it goes wrong, you're going to burn up and die. But if it goes right, we're going to give you a medal, and, you're going to be famous, man. So it's your risk. So that's what we did back in the 60s, man. To say that the computers that landed those machines on the moon in the 60s is now in our pocket is an understatement by orders of magnitude. It's literally millions of times more powerful. Millions. It is super. We literally, if we had in our pocket but basically, I think the way I've heard about this is before is that if you took what's in our pocket now, took it back to the 60s, you would need the size of Texas to run the machine, to house the computer.
Wow. Yeah.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
That's now. Now, like, I remember thinking we got 1080p on our phones, like shooting 1080p.
Yeah.
So when I do behind the scenes, I don't even take a camera from anyone. I just use my camera because it's all close up, well lit.
Yeah.
And we get, like, just as much hits on that content when we shoot in 4K.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a whole team building that content.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars.
No.
Shoot it on a phone. Achieve the same aesthetic. It's just outrageous what we're doing, man. It's outrageous. And that's where we are now. And once they start solving those interfacing problems of how we connect to the internet, shit, bro.
Yeah.
It's going to get insane.
That's kind of the, like, I have been luckily playing around with vertical video for a bunch of years, but kind of one of the things that's exciting me about the current movement towards vertical video and TikTok and all these spaces is that it's kind of, it's like, sure, people have been able to make films with phones for a while, but it's like the informal storytelling nature of these kind of emerging platforms is kind of what excites me about that.
Dude.
The democratization of filmmaking.
Yeah, it has. It has the accessibility, right?
Yeah.
I'd recommend you check out a dude called Ryan Couchy.
Okay.
He is taking 4K vision to vertical.
Yeah.
So he's like, and he is like taking cinematography and filmmaking principles that you do on big budget films and making 1 minute videos that are designed for a vertical space.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is absolutely insane what he's doing.
Right.
Like high production
Yeah.
for 1 minute vertical.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so he's really onto something. Like,
Yeah. I'd love to check that.
well, he's just I think he's finished shooting by now. I don't hope I'm not talking too far out of school, Ryan. I'm sorry if I'm going over the mark, bro.
Yeah.
But he's just gotten a grant from Screen Australia.
Yeah.
That's I think they've given him a year to make a whole bunch of a suite of content for him.
Yeah. Okay.
The content he's making is just amazing. Like, you'd think that the beauty of it is because when you see HD or 4K on vertical, it's usually aggregated from a landscape.
Like it's punched in. Yeah.
It's punched in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When you shoot it native.
Yeah, well, he's building it native as vertical.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like capitalizing on the frame so that it tells a different story. The cinematography has to be different to accommodate the space.
I've definitely, like, when I say playing around with vertical, it was occasionally client work, like, 5-6 years ago, but it was mostly just playing around, which is a great play field for it. But now, like, a bunch of client work is native vertical. And
native vertical, man, is insanity when you think about it, because we struggle with it, and it is a struggle because most of the content we build is for a landscape screen.
Yeah.
But then they go, well, we want our socials.
Yeah.
Well, we go, well, that's going to incur cost because now we need to drag it from an aggregate and repackage it.
Yeah.
And that takes time and technical prowess to do so.
Yeah.
It's money. End state, it's money.
Right.
It's money and time. And money is time in these situations.
Yeah. So
they'll go, well, what we can do is build you a package, and they'll always try and value engineer it.
Yeah.
Drag it back. And and I understand, like, because organisations we work for are, non-for-profits.
Yeah.
They're to a budget. They're, stretched beyond their means every time.
Yeah.
Every time stretched beyond their means.
Yeah.
And what suffers is those extra threads that actually increase your audience. And those extra threads are the socials, the podcasting.
Yeah.
No, actually, the gigs that we've recently worked, actually, they've done well. They do actually do well at doing that.
Yeah.
I think there are some aspects of what I do. I go, you guys missed an opportunity there. If we targeted the content with the intention of doing that, the content would be different.
Right.
It's just that you're scared of doing it differently.
Yeah.
In your first year of doing it, it's going to have flaws. But your second year of doing it, it's going to become enhanced.
100%, yeah, iterative process.
It enhances, it does. I must say, like, for Main the West, it was a terrible opportunity for us. It really was, because we had to become online. So now we have an online festival, but we still ran the festival because, like, during festival period,
so hybrid.
Yeah, well, we design hybrid models as well.
Yeah.
But now we have two festivals that run in situ.
Okay.
And simultaneously. So I do, instead of doing just a highlights package, I do a piece to camera capture.
Yeah.
To host an online festival, and I sell that internationally.
Right.
So now I've taken this local content and put it in an international market.
Right.
And I've been doing it for 3 years, and everyone's like, first year it totally failed. I'm like, no, it didn't. It didn't totally fail, man. It's our first year doing it.
Yeah.
No one else is doing it.
Yeah.
What we were doing there, not no one else, but barely anyone else is doing this. Second year we do it, they go, it's 5 times the audience. I go, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we do this again,
Just stick with it. Yeah.
if we do it again, then it'll become like, it's starting to develop its brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it 5 times. Now people will expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Because they want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
right.
they will support it, and they do. But then you're taking it on an international scene. But I know that it's successful because I look around at other competing websites and other competing festivals. I go, even their copy looks very familiar. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah.
But even their about pages look very similar
Yeah.
in wording.
Yeah. Well, you're doing something well when people start to replicate you.
Yeah, when they cut, copy, paste. Like, fuck, you could have at least rewritten it.
Take it as a compliment. Take it as a compliment.
Could have at least rewritten it. But nonetheless, you're onto something because they go, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Exactly.
How are we gonna do this? Well, we can't employ anyone to write a copy. Just go and highlight it, press Command C. Just Command C it. Email me, and I'll pretend that we wrote it. Do you think that's what they do? Talking in back rooms?
Yeah.
Fuck, let's steal it. Just steal it.
No, it's definitely how you know you're onto something good. And with working on client projects, client podcasts, even pitching one, I would only recommend to start with 10, and we say minimum 5.
Yeah.
Because if we just do one together, and then you try and look at the stats for that, like podcasting, it's long form, it's a long game. Like you need to get at least 5-10 points on the board before you even start to see where you're at.
Well, it depends on the type of podcast. If you're doing like a fiction thing,
oh yeah,
you're going to need 8.
Yeah,
it's like the number straight out of a hat. You need something like 8, 10, 12, 5 minimum.
Take people on a journey.
Yeah, you got to take them on a journey. Film your third episode first. Film your first episode third, because then because when you do your first episode, it's going to be a bit rattly. So don't do the first episode first. Is my argument with fiction.
Yeah.
Do your third one first, and then do your first one first.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Do
your first one third because your crew is ready.
Yeah, which like a lot of like episodic narrative TV stuff would be like that, because you don't necessarily shoot in sequence, right?
You don't shoot in sequence, and that's why I say cross pollinate. Like I've taken TV models to Zoom as well.
Yeah.
So and choose your own adventure. So I've taken choose your own adventure and TV models to Zoom during the pandemic, and now we run that's how we run our networking events.
Right.
And people expect that, and it's attractive because we started 30 people show up, now 100 people show up. We're like, shit, now we need to get a bigger license because we can't accommodate the bloody audience.
Yeah.
And you go, shit, something we were doing for free. Now it's going to cost money. Shit, how do we monetize this? We'll have a meeting. Shit, I lost my thread there. Where are we going? I lost my thread. I think we were talking about podcasting, talking about doing episodes. Yeah. So the minimum episodes. I think for a podcast like myself, I would say to someone 100 episodes. If you want to make it and start to get too monetized, you need to do 100 episodes, man.
Yeah.
Where you got a guest in every fortnight, every week.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do it over time. Understand that some of your stuff is gonna stick, some of it's gonna fall off the wall.
Yeah.
Don't really, don't get engorged in the comments. There's always going to be haters, but as well, don't read the ones that are embellishing either, because you're not as good as you think you are. Just do what you like doing.
Yeah, just steady the course and
steady the course. Yeah. So
100,
50 to 100 is a good number to be doing information-based content. Not information, but non-narrative.
Yeah.
But non-narrative stuff. But if you're doing a review, like if you're going to review content, you need 12 episodes, man. So we're going to review these bands.
Right.
Or we're going to review these films.
Yeah.
Or we're going to review these podcasts. Actually, that's not a bad idea. A podcast.
Bit of a meta series, yeah.
Yeah, Metacast. There we go. Already invented.
Got the pitch. Yeah.
But like generally people that want to do a podcast have got something to say.
Yeah.
And I was always like, even back in the early 2000s, I'd be sitting around with people and they go, only if we recorded this conversation, people would love this.
Yeah.
And it's true, they do. That long form content. But with that said, I've had like fans say weird things to me. For like weird things, they come up to you and they go, I listen to you as I go to sleep. Like, I don't know how to take that. Can you take that?
I have had an ASMR type comment before. Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to you while I sleep. So what you're saying is I put you to sleep, or I'm soothing enough to make you...
Yeah.
I solve insomnia for you?
Hey, just like the copy and paste website, we'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, take it as a compliment. Yeah, God.
You're soothing enough and calming enough
Copy paste
to get someone to sleep. Hey, a lot of people struggle to sleep, so we're providing a service for the world.
They are. Look, I just hope I end up on the commute, though. So I'm a commute listener.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm on a train, in a car, I'm a commute listener.
Yeah. Do you crank up the speed?
On info ones, yeah. When I'm doing, when I'm learning.
What speed are you sitting on?
When I'm doing science ones, I'm doing 1.25s.
Yeah.
Even at 2.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing ones that are funny,
Yeah.
I leave them at their natural speed.
Yeah.
Audio books, I'm doing at 2 speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the audio, it's just strange though for me. I don't recommend it unless you're like weird like me.
Yeah, and like if you got that editor brain and kind of
I can take it.
You're doing the JKL shuttling anyhow, and
yeah, see, I love it. Oh, you're speaking to my own heart. Speaking to my own heart.
Well, I'm looking at a dashboard here that's got Premiere, Final Cut, and DaVinci Resolve. So I need to know your allegiance here, actually.
Yeah. Well, you can see, like I'm a media slut by looking at my taskbar.
Well, which one? We're not even going to pledge allegiance here.
No, I'm a Final Cut guy.
Oh, Final Cut.
I know, right? Everyone always says that. They always say that. Look, I could do Avid. I could do DaVinci. I could do Premiere Pro.
Yeah, I swear, like
I do them all.
Like
but
MKBHD, like Marcus Brownlee's like the only one still doing Final. Oh, maybe Jesse Driftwood to a degree.
I just like, I don't know. I build my own plugins for Final Cut, man.
Right. So you're a patch and macro.
Yeah. I definitely a patch and macro guy. I love those nuances, and I love doing that. I can do it in Premiere as well. Actually, I can build plugins in there as well.
Yeah.
But if I go get a plugin I don't like it, I will then reverse engineer it and rebuild it. I will. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. I'll do it.
Classic.
I'll do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I am that driven at that point. But look, that's why I try not. I don't smoke cigarettes inside. If I smoke cigarettes inside, I'll have a problem. I'll just be like, fucking plugins. Jesus fucking Christ, these fucking motherfuckers. But yeah, look, you know when you're like, I don't know, when you unlock a game with all of the patch software and every cheat code it could possibly have.
Right.
When you walk into my Final Cut,
yeah,
that's what you're walking into.
Okay.
No normal editor could walk into my Final Cut editor and survive.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah. Okay.
It is too vast. Like, it is an abyss. It's an abyss of plugins and like, fuck, where's the normal widgets on this, man?
Yeah.
Rarely use them. Don't use those. I've got my own setup. I think, from text to fonts, man, like it's endless. But you get that with Premiere Pro though. Are you a Premiere Pro guy?
I was for like 15 years, and I spent a good part of the early.
DaVinci, you're a DaVinci
yeah,
man.
That's right.
Knew it.
Yeah, I'm now in a long and happy, fulfilled, committed relationship with DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
In the 4th year now, and it's a happy marriage.
Yeah, well, look, I know. See, the transcode and work with clients. I even do XML exports, right?
Yeah.
So I do XML exports, which is program files, kids. If you're not falling behind, I'm sorry if I'm losing you guys.
Platform neutral. Yeah.
Platform neutral, yes. Oh, this is fun. I will do that and then explain to the client or the other editor on the phone how to get that to work because they never know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I ring them up and tell them how to do it. But I love running a proxy. I'm a big fan of running a proxy.
Yep.
And then, extrapolating out and then getting my edit in a lower render time and just reconnecting and sending it out.
Well, you were talking of silicon earlier, and I've been on the Apple silicon train recently, so
I got Misty one of those.
That has been allowing me to, edit on my outward and return Blue Mountains train journey.
Okay.
And it's just wild. That was the machine that I had out at the festival, and my biggest tech flex now is not even carrying a power supply, when I'm out there for like a 10, 12,
Jeez,
whatever
that's
hours.
impressive.
Yeah, it's what I've never known.
It's
that.
a superconductor at room temperature.
Yeah. I've never, and it's great because like you know like you don't usually associate a great deal amount of serious video or editing with kind of mobile environments, and
No, it's just data wrangling,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Data wrangling and maybe sampling for a client on the go.
Yeah.
Nothing
But now
Nothing solid.
I'm doing
on the road.
I'm pulling
On the road edits.
pulling my selects and doing edits and pulling mixes
Oh, dude,
on trains.
Well, I think I'm at this machine here.
Yeah.
My new editor. I think
Yeah.
I'm at that's the last of Intel.
Yeah.
Like that will be my last Intel machine. I know it.
Yeah.
It is like when I look back through the decades.
Yeah.
And look at this thing. It's an iMac, but it's really an iMac Pro.
Right.
So I've
The way
customized.
that you've
I've customized it to be an iMac Pro,
Mhm.
but I just didn't pay the price that Apple would want me to pay for that.
6-10 grand, whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, it's up there.
Oh.
To do what I do through Apple would probably be about 22.
Yeah. Okay.
About 22.
Oh, right.
So I've done it for way less than that.
Yeah.
So look, it's got the shell of an iMac on it,
Yeah.
but it's an iMac Pro, and it will do me 10 years. But with that said, it depends how like Oculus stuff goes, and it depends how like who knows what's out there. Like I love hotkeys, man. I like. You know, you talk about JKL, right? No one knows what the fuck that is. That is forward, pause, reverse at different speeds.
Yes, and it works on YouTube, folks. So
Works on YouTube. Works everywhere, actually.
Right,
I haven't found a
quite
space
standard.
well, they call it scrubbing.
Yeah.
That's how you scrub your footage.
yeah.
I haven't found something that doesn't scrub that way.
Normal Reaper does not, and when you talk about your custom Final Cut land, I've actually been privileged to be working with a modded version of Reaper for some time now, and then so when I'm using our record machines at the festival,
This is great. Sounds illegal.
No, I mean like Reaper's like quite a sort of like plug and play open sourcey kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That you can skin and mod to your heart's content. And I've been using one.
Just sounds like you bought it off of someone with a face tattoo.
Been
is all I'm
modded.
saying.
No, it's given it from a big broadcaster. So I've been using that, and that actually they've added a version of. It's not as tight as like what it is on video editors, but there's a version of JKL in there, and that kind of crazy editor brain had me on 1.5 on sort of non-narrative, non-fiction podcasts for a good little while, and then I listened to one talking about like almost like speed reading, like our capacity to speed listen is so much greater than it is for speed reading because of the our history of humans listening versus history of humans listening time.
I can see what you're saying there, but I think it's the type of mind.
Yeah.
Like I have an autographic memory. Like as a musician, it's great because you can play me something, and like a good way to test an autographic memory is to put on your favorite song.
Yeah.
Start singing it.
Yeah.
Along with it, and then mute it for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Continue singing it, and then unmute after a minute. If you're still on the song in time, you have an autographic memory. So test your autographic memory. I reckon you'd be able to test that because I don't know how to test a photographic. I've got a bit of a photographic memory, but I would say that my autographic memory is more intense.
Right.
Like not only can I hear sound, I can duplicate it out my own voice box.
Yeah.
I'm very good at imitation and doing voiceover and acting someone out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think there's one certain individual in the last festival that we worked out. I do an impression of him, and people go, "Oh, that's fucking bang on!" I'm gonna do it to you. I love you, bro. You know who you are. You got the angry old crusties that are out there.
Yeah.
And you interpret them. They're like, "Fuck, man, how did you nail that?" I go, well, I've worked with him for so long.
Yeah.
That I just know how he sounds. You know, and it's not. They say that imitation is the best form of flattery, and I want that to come out to be correct.
Yeah.
It is a form of flattery.
Yeah. For like in your website case.
Yeah, totally. It's a form of flattery. It's brash to begin with, but the intent is what's important.
Yeah.
It's a good intention.
Yeah.
And that autographic memory is great because then you can it kind of comes from a data entry kind of perspective as well. As a editor, you're a data entry person. You can type without seeing or do keystrokes without seeing.
Yeah.
Like someone who's a good writer, they can type because they've got the little nubs on F and what is it, J.
Yeah.
They can feel the nubs and they can go, oh, there's a nub, so I can type from here. Yeah.
Yep.
But as editors, it's sort of like dials off the base of your wrists.
Yeah.
It bases off your wrists there, and you sort of dial. And that goes back to original editing as dial. You're dialing there as well.
Yeah.
So I realised that it's actually a language that we do as editors. We do this. I can edit faster than I can talk.
Yeah.
Because you do it long enough, you just... people watch me edit. They go,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I'm just slowing down for you guys so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, that's slow. I'm like, yeah, that's slow. Otherwise, we would argue.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to slow it down so we can get to the point.
Yeah.
And
that should be where the bar is for editing, because it's such an intense role.
It is.
And you have to trawl through all this stuff, and you got to be on top of it.
Yeah, well, you're a storyteller as an editor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that story, I know this. I said this several times on the podcast, and I'll say it again. I've heard writers talk about this when they write, when they're in the zone. You know when it was like in the zone. You know when you're editing or filming and you're just in the zone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if an explosion happened in front of you. You've got this. Like you're just in the zone.
Yeah.
You just feel the edit, and I literally feel the edit in my hands. Like it starts to become extrasensory.
Yeah.
It starts to become synesthetic in nature.
Yeah.
I can feel the edit happening, and then I go, "Oh, don't fight it. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just edit." And then you're like, "Okay, I'm not even fucking thinking anymore.
Yeah.
Just fucking editing."
Yeah.
And then writers talk about that same flow. I realize that there's with that dexterity in your fingers is very connected to your brain.
Yeah.
It's connected more than we know. It is so... It really comes out hunter-gatherer sort of thing of throwing a spear. I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it feels like that. I go, wow, I can really talk with this thing. I've got so much power in here telling the story.
Yeah.
And by the time I've thought about... Like, the thought of it takes longer than doing it.
Right. Yeah.
It's slower. To extrapolate and think about it existentially is slower than doing it.
Yeah.
And talking is quite fast. You don't think about what you say most of the time. You might have a filter that holds you back a bit.
Yeah.
Editing, no filter. I just edit.
Yeah.
And the less I think about it, the faster it gets. And I literally go beyond speech. I can do it faster. And when you tie in an autographic memory to listening, I can edit multicam. I can do a multicam first draft edit without even hearing what they're saying. I can do it that quick. I'm like, yep, that one, yep, that one. Ooh, did I hear that? I did. that one.
Yeah.
And then go, okay, listen back, let go, check edit. And I might need to, move an edit line here and there and there and there.
Yeah.
But generally it's there.
Yeah.
The scaffolding is there.
The bones of it, yeah.
The bones of it is there. So, highly recommend multicam editing. Best way to learn multicam editing is working with bands. Set up 3-camera shoot.
Yeah.
2 roving, 1 lock off.
Yeah.
And do a multicam edit on a band shoot with a decent sound feed. You will become a very good editor if you do that.
Yeah. And you'll get good at syncing audio.
You'll get great, and technical setups. Yeah. You just will. It's inevitable. Yeah. It's inevitable if you do it.
Yeah.
And then you'll learn that the most important thing as an editor is to edit ear to eye.
Right.
It's image is rhythmic. It has rhythm. Good images that we watch and go, that's awesome. You don't know why? I can tell you why. It's 'cause it's got rhythm. We are humans are very much attuned to rhythm. Yeah. It's we resonate. Yeah. We're vibration creatures. Yeah. And images are not excluded from this vibration.
I've got a friend who's quite talented in both music and academic circles in quite an extreme way, and he's got this theory that musicians make the best film editors, and particularly often drummers. As well. And then I'm kind of realizing this, that's my background, and that's why I kind of feel so comfortable. But have you come across these tools? Descript is one of them, where they will sort of AI analyze the dialogue in a thing, and then you can see the script, then you edit the script and it'll edit the thing.
I did one experiment with this just before the festival. It was 2 weeks before, about 4 weeks ago I did a go on this. It's pretty profound. And I only just sampled it. I've only just scratch the surface.
I feel really torn about both that technique and the idea of paper edits, because I think it comes from what you were describing there, because like I need to feel, like I can't just read the words on a page. I need to feel what that person is saying. I need to hear the timbre of their voice. I need to know if they're getting teary or something.
I need syllabants.
Yeah.
I need syllabants for an edit. I know this is another crazy one. It comes from newsreading for me when I train newsreaders.
Yeah.
The first thing you train with a newsreader is how to pivot emotion.
Right.
So you'd be like, and the weather today was this, and there was a murder in Blacktown.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't read that way. You need to see the words coming.
Yeah.
And decide the emotion of your inflection when you get there, because you may have a positive story before a negative story.
Yeah.
You can't tell a negative story positively, and you can't tell a positive story negatively.
Yeah.
They need to be matched in emotional context.
Yeah.
That's what newsreaders do. That's what they get paid high money for. Actually, that's the business.
Yeah.
Is understanding that.
Yeah.
And obviously, aesthetics beyond that as well. Aesthetics and then profile. But the fundamentals of it are understanding emotion. And understanding those emotions, you can feel that through a multicam edit. You can feel that through a musical performance. But like, we're going to drums. Where's the drummer? Give me a drummer. All right, we go. Oh yeah, he's guitar, and then you can see what's coming up with the other the other filmmakers. Oh no, other camera operators.
Getting the shot lined up.
Yeah, and you might go back and do a correction. But the point is, it's a rhythmic experience. And when I get into flow, I feel that rhythm in my hands.
Yeah.
Literally feel it in my hands.
Right.
And sometimes when I start acknowledging that I feel it with my hands, it numbs the sensation and it fucks it up.
Yeah.
So when I get to that point, I have to be conscious of, don't acknowledge the experience, just experience the experience. And that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you're going, this is fucking cool. Oh, fuck. I fell off the bike. Shit. All right, start again. Where's the good point that got me inspired?
Yeah.
All right. Command Z. Right, let's go again. Play. All right, let's go again. I find those moments, and I find it to be meditative as well. Editing is a very meditative process. And the editor is the most powerful person.
I've been realizing that as well. Like they're number 2 on the sort of expenditure on a film sheet, right? Like it's like director, then it's often like editor. Yeah. Right? Like I did not know that for quite some time, and then it's like now I'm kind of realizing.
Well, the director is the extrovert, and the editor is the introvert.
Yes.
They really
He's doing the heavy lifting.
Oh, dude, man! Like you talking about drums before, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've made this correlation many times before, and I'm happy to do it again.
Yeah.
And working in bands, I realize is very similar to working with a film crew.
Right.
So your director and your cinematographer is a lead guitarist.
Yeah.
And a lead guitarist and a singer is a director and cinematographer relationship.
Yeah.
They've got egos involved.
Yeah.
No, I'm writing this song. I'm actually the one technically doing this. Yeah, but I'm the one that's bringing the audience. Right? So there's this tension.
Yeah.
A good cinematographer. It's the same in a band. You talked about bands being a marriage. It's very true. In a marriage, you need to fall in love. A guitarist needs to fall in love with a vocalist, and a vocalist needs to fall in love with the guitarist. Otherwise, it won't work unless the money's big.
Yeah, and those melodies are singing between those.
Yeah, those things
in
need
harmony.
That harmony needs to exist. And a drummer will fall in love with the bass guitarist, and the bass guitarist will fall in love with the drummer.
Yeah. True.
And then you'll get synthesis between those two groups, and now you've got a band, right? You get the same thing in film. Yeah. A cinematographer needs to fall in love with a director. Yeah. And a director needs to fall in love with a cinematographer. Right. And your drummer is your editor.
Okay. Who's the bass player then?
The bass player is, I guess it's more of the other sort of roles that are around that. Your colorist or your sound capture guy, it's those things that no one cares about.
The other post,
Yeah, they go
post-production.
Yeah, audio operator. Like, you can name 5 directors. You might be able to name 1 editor. Name a sound operator. It's near impossible. Yeah. And that's the problem with bass players. Unless you're Les Claypool.
Paul Salty Brincat.
Yeah. Well, Les Claypool, like he's a lead bass player. Yeah. Really, he's just a guitarist that plays a bass guitar, Yeah. Or a banjo player that plays a bass guitar, to be more frank.
Right.
But, I find those relationships unusual and quite true. I'm your leather jacket wearing, weird hat wearing director that shows up on time, a little bit hungover, with some sort of depressive thing in his mind that he's going to push to the back because the art is more important. I'm that kind of director that shows up on set. But I'm someone that definitely needs to fall in love with a cinematographer. And I have the cinematographers that I go to and I fall in love with and we work well. But a good director can pick up a camera. A good cinematographer can direct. And both of them can edit. But it's better to get an editor that actually is an editor.
Right.
You know
Full specialist,
Yeah, a specialist, totally. Someone that is like, no, I'm an editor. I don't direct. I don't shoot. I just cut.
Yeah, editing's like the last thing that I'm finding hard to let go. Like I feel like I can delegate and work with teams on anything, but there's something about editing where, and I'm trying to push myself. Like as I go back now, I'm wanting to talk to because it is a real kind of pinch point in my production workflow.
I've got some advice for you if it's helpful.
Please.
Yeah, I've got some advice for you if it's helpful.
Yeah.
Give the content to the editor. They've got the shot list, storyboard, flow of work, however you want to frame how they're going to assemble that content.
Yeah.
And if it's a half-hour show, they're going to take X amount of time to do it.
Yeah.
You already know what the timeline would be if it took you to do it, and you know how long it will take them to do it.
Yeah.
Speed is money, but quality is also money too. So you don't want them to be too fast, but you don't want them to be too slow either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you know where that bandwidth is. So if you're doing half-hour content, give them 3 days before you show up and go, man, on day 4, can I come and hang out with you?
Yeah.
Just gonna, that's what that chair is.
Yeah.
You'll see, like, I've got multiple chairs in the room.
Yeah.
That's my chair. Well, that's the director's chair. I invite the director to come and hang out with me and go, what do you think? This is what I've developed.
Yeah.
This is where we're up to so far.
Yeah. Because editing side by side with someone's a nightmare, right?
It's a nightmare. Because never do it because you've got an armchair fucking director.
Yeah. And then like, if you've hired someone to do a job for you, and you're just going to sit next to them and micromanage it, like why are you? You're hiring someone to buy back your time, right?
Allow them to do the technical layout where they've aggregated the content. They've got it into a timeline. They've assembled some of the scenes. They're nowhere near color correction. They've done a little bit of sound editing. That's when you rock up. Go, what have we got, man? Can I have a look? Where you up to?
Yeah.
And if you have this moment, and there'll be, and what another thing I recommend as well is if you've got a scene that's problematic, you go, I tell you what, let's put them on 2 machines. You edit it, and I edit it at the same time. See if we get the same thing.
All right.
So usually the editor will win.
Yeah.
Allow them to win. Is my point.
Yeah.
Fall on your sword.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be a clock watcher.
Yeah.
Show up 3 days later and go, how's this going, man? Do you mind if I just sit in on this session? And then you're going to get a grasp of how precious and how frivolous they are.
Yeah.
And you're going to then develop trust in their technical prowess.
Right.
If you show up at beginning wise, you'll get lost in your own head. And you will be your own worst enemy. And they will become their own worst enemy. Give them space. Let them disseminate it. Let them assemble it. And then go, oh, yeah. Because then you've got 2 choices at that point. You either agree with what they've done or you don't. And if you don't agree with what they've done, later is too late.
Yeah.
And now is the time.
Yeah.
If you agree with what they've done, this is an opportunity to then turn this good thing into something great. So, yeah, give them time. Give an editor time. They're an introvert, right? They're an introverted personality.
Yeah.
Your extroverted personality in that space as the director and as the core creative producer is not going to help. It's not going to help. You need to go in later. So, but what my point is, you need to get into that edit suite. You don't want to show up too early to that. You don't want to show up too late to that. So you got to figure out the duration of that project. And go, when's a good day to go into that edit suite and pop my head in and have a coffee? You don't want to be there all day too. Just want to pop in, see where they're up to. Give them the opportunity. They afford you the opportunity to grease their wheels a bit and go, man, I'm actually loving this part. Then it gives you an opportunity to go, actually, I'm going to be critical of this part. I don't really like where that's going. Yeah. They'll give them a chance to defend it and say, no, it's that part hasn't really solidified yet. Give me another day on that one.
Right.
Okay. Afford trust.
Yeah.
Afford trust and go, yeah, sure. have that bit.
Yeah.
Always finish on a positive. By the way,
Yeah.
I think this is going really well. Man, is it okay if I come back and have coffee with you in 2 days on this project? Give them another day to flick around with it. Come back the next day, and then I over-shoulder them a little bit for an hour or so. Because they would actually like that. Because introverts, they say they don't like company, but they do. They just don't like company all the time.
Yeah.
They just want a little bit of company.
Yeah.
So go and give them a little bit of company. Is another way to frame that.
Right.
Go and give them a little bit of company, but don't come in with a hammer and looking at everything as a nail, though.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. But go in there open heart. Open heart. And that's the hardest thing. And that's the best thing. That's the advice I give to people, is to say, like, don't edit your own content. Because you're going to be precious. You're going to go, man, I spent this money on this. And this scene doesn't work.
Gotta have every shot in there.
Every shot must remain. If you go into a shoot if you go into a project like that, an editor will rip your guts out and tell you that you are ugly and your children are also ugly. They'll do that to you. And you need someone to do that to you.
Yeah, and when you've shot something, like particularly like in the doco context, it's like, oh, this magical thing was happening and I was there and I captured it and it has to go in, and like you get too attached.
Precious.
Yeah.
You get very precious.
Yeah.
Allows someone to give someone the opportunity and the trust to dismantle your baby. And that's a good editor. A good editor will do that.
Yeah.
They'll say, this is horseshit, man. This is not going to fucking work.
Yeah.
You got to let it go. But you can't do that on day one.
No.
Because if you go in there day one, you yourself will be too precious. And you'll it's got to this. You'll disrupt the chi. You'll disrupt the chi, man. You know. But yeah, man, like, I think we're really close to the end. What do you reckon? We could go on for hours. We could go on for hours.
Yeah, no, I should get in some sleep before the flight in the morning.
Yeah, you got a flight coming up, man. But Dylan, where can we find your podcast online?
It's in all the podcast places, but Kaju Creative, Kaju is the business name.
Yep.
And Creator Tales, with an OR, Creator, is the name of the podcast. It's in all the normal podcast places and YouTube. And I do little vertical re-edits, little clips.
Yep, TikTok,
on
Instagram,
my
Facebook,
Instagram.
Reels.
Yeah.
Keep it real, baby.
Yeah, running the reels.
Man, look, I must say, I've had an absolute ball talking to you today, man. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Man, you've really energized me. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
All right. Well, guys, you've been watching the Pagey Train. You can catch us out on Spotify. That's right, video on Spotify. But if you're one of those YouTube people, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. And hey, maybe you're an avid listener and you want to go and check us out on Apple iTunes or iHeartRadio. Basically, anywhere you can find podcasts. You've been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time. There we go, man.
Yes.
Sonic Boom. That was a fucking hoot. That was mad, bro. Thank you so much.
Nice one, man.
That was great. I just got to do some promo.